north, south, east, west side of Scotland. Easdale. They were quarrying. So we'll move on because it says quite a lot of information, but basically it stopped by the 1960s. Quarrying was being done for a few hundred years, and then the seas came in because some of these quarries were below sea, and then that's it flooded the quarries. But I'm not did they flood? You don't know why, in a way, because the quarries do have water in them, but we don't know everything anymore because everything is always different to what we think. Anyway, that's Easdale, so it's not a particularly big island. He said hundreds of people live there, but I can't see that they would because the island itself isn't that big. But there are structures on there where, like derelict ones where people aren't there anymore. But there, on these islands, there's quite a lot of, with this island, there's quite a lot of quarrying going on, or had been going on. It's really strange because it was all over really by, say, the early like 1900s, definitely finished by 1960. And Christian says, we've just been quarried. So these people had quarried us. Anyway, I thought this was a bit interesting, the artillery. So it began in March 1860. They were volunteers. And then if you want to stop and read a little bit of that, there's quite a lot of information. There's one about Queen Victoria, and he pointed the gun and everything like that when she came up to Edinburgh. And look at that, we know they were trained from detailed records in our archives in 1879. So a rifle range was built in 1887, and I think it's still there, well, remnants of it. So that's quite interesting, I suppose, because it's just that part of that history again, isn't it? Where we're poor in horses and carts, and then all this stuff's happening. But anyway, all this quarrying. Anyway, I'll just leave it there just for a minute for you to look at that. You might need to stop the video if you want to watch. In fact, there's too much. I carry on. There's just too much. But anyway, I wanted to find out a bit more about why the quarries weren't there anymore. But the guy in the video explained something. And because of what he said, it made me go and look up the quarries. And it says there, hidden for, basically, well, we'll carry on and I'll explain it. And you can read any of this if you want. There they are again. Quite a lot of them, all organised in Tartarian or Victorian times, whichever one you want to say. Yes, loads of them up there. There's the dates. So it's a little bit interesting on this little island stuck up there. Anyway, we'll look at the islands now. Oh, someone's on a bike now going. Anyway, this is Easdale. So you can see it's not a particularly big island, although it looks like it's got some beaches here. And then these are the quarries. And this is where the people lived. Obviously there's another, maybe a bit more there. Don't know what's here. I think that's all the stones. But it's not a very big island, is it? I think it just takes about 45 minutes to go around the whole thing, but there's more islands that were quarrying. This is another one, and this is quite interesting because this bridge here was in 1792. 1792, and it's there! I thought that was an amazing little bridge. It's the little bridge over the Atlantic. But obviously this connects, this is an island and connects it to Scotland. But I thought it was quite interesting. And then another one. I was just looking at what it said. It said there that in the 1800s, 600 people lived there, and then nowadays it's about 200. About the slate industry again. And then another island. And this one isn't inhabited anymore. But it had a few pictures, so I showed the pictures. Wow, amazing. Look at that. No one lives on that one anymore. I might have to look that one up. Just some derelict houses on it. But it was the same thing, little quarrying community. And that's what's left. Another empty place. Although I don't know if I'd like to live, I don't know. It's very rural. I mean, I'm rural, but I'm not sure if I want it that rural. Anyway, it says there, roofing the world from these quarries. There's a little bit of information there, and it said, the first recorded account of Easdale slate is in 1554. Scotland was roofed in 1676 from the slate there, and that one 1631. You can stop and read that if you want, but 1554 says it was roofing the world. So obviously a lot of the slate came from these quarries. They're not the biggest quarries, and you know, they look like holes more than quarries. They were just holes. I don't know how they even got in there. Just must have had machinery. But, you know, he says they were 90 feet deep. So how do they get down there? I mean, they look like sinkholes in a way sometimes. But anyway, what this is about winding the slate. Because once you, like, slit it, it could be, there it explains it. Tough. It's a tough rock. And the sheets may be slit between 12 and 6 millimeters without breaking it. So they were splitting or wining the slate as well. I mean, there's a picture of it. I mean, that could have been it, the big hole. After 1745, so we're talking of quite a long time ago. I was a bit like, wow. The things you don't know. It might not be that interesting to some people. I just found it a little bit interesting. So I just thought I'd make a video on it. Because it fits in that timeline where we're quarrying, things have gone. Oh, and it's not Doggerland side. It's actually the other side of Scotland. So I'm not sure how that quite works. But I suppose the water rose. If there was a tsunami, maybe it all came around England. I think the simulation shows it does. So maybe that's what it was. And he says 1851. So maybe that's when Doggerland disappeared. But this is the other side of, it's not Doggerland side, it's the other side of England, Scotland. Yeah, there's a little bit of information there. And then they've got these little videos showing parts of the island, which I'll show you just pictures. Yes, this little bridge, I don't quite know what's going on there, whether that's a wall in and whether this is something else going on here. This little bridge. There it is. Look at that. He built that in the 1700s. I think he must have known what they were doing. I even thought about it because I thought, it's not the biggest bridge, is it? But it's lasted since the 1700s. And I noticed that the arch is quite deep because obviously maybe for flooding or anything like that. So the bridge could still connect. It's very thin there, isn't it? But look at this. I just think that's amazing that was built in the 1700s. There it is. What a lovely little connecting an island to the mainland of Scotland. Now there's some cottages in another island, but again, this is all slate mining communities. That's another little island. Obviously that's a little slate thing there. I was wondering why they've got cars. They haven't really got anywhere to drive. And all the slate. Beautiful views. And then let's just make sure. Yes, that's. Now we're on to Easdale. And these are the quarries on Easdale. And they go. What beautiful views. It looks so peaceful there, doesn't it? It's hard to think that, you know, I think there must have been things out here as well, because it just looks like it. Looks like mankind has been there. There it is. But these pits are 90 feet deep. How did they get the slate? How did they get the slate out? How did they get in there?
You can totally see why the World Stone Skimming Championships are held here every year. We'll be doing some of that later. I read somewhere that a lot of the slate contains fool's gold. I wonder if it'd fool Alicia for her birthday. Here we are at the first quarry I've found, and it really does make you think about that night in 1851 when the storm rolled in and filled the quarry and took away so many people's livelihoods overnight. This is some place. Look at this. These walls of slate are just incredible. It'd be so easy to give an island a nickname like Slate Island, but here, wow, how true is it? It's everywhere. I'm not sure if it'll come through in the camera, but look at that water.
I thought that was very interesting. Yes. And then this is Easdale. Oh, let's go back to here. That's that. There's the quarries. And they turn around. There's the little island. See, that's... How could you fit hundreds on here? Yes, you could see in here that there were buildings, or there are bits of buildings left, and yes, look, you can see there's obviously something there, and yeah, there's the little beaches. But how could they fit hundreds more people on there? Surely it wouldn't be much bigger than it is today. There's these ponds. And I suppose you can see, I think this is mankind in here, even though it's flooded. Yeah, it's hard to... Or are they sinkholes? It must be a little bit of information here. We'll let this play. I just thought that was quite interesting. Anyway, onto this bit here. Let's put the video on. So that's explaining what size. I went out a bit farther. Anyway, now we're so far out. Woo. So I zoom back in. So that's where they are. Those islands, and I'll zoom in a bit more. And there you go, there's Easdale. Yeah, and there's more islands there anyway, all doing the same thing. I just thought it was very interesting. I just wanted to know. It just seemed that a lot of them stopped. I mean, in a sense, we don't have slate roofs anymore. Well, some people do. But we have different tiles now. But anyway, it says there, following disastrous tidal waves. Well, let's just stop it there. Let's go back to that bit. It's too fast for me. Shall we? Oh, where is it? There it is. Following the disastrous tidal wave of 1881, but he said 1851, which left the quarries flooded, McCall left Easdale to be replaced by Mr. Wilson, a gentleman of greater enterprise and energy. The last slates to be taken from Easdale was on a commercial scale, was shipped in 1911, but they said the 1960s. So obviously some of them were still going to the 1960s, but this one closed in 1911, obviously from that flooding, but some of them were still open. And let's put the video on. Is it going to play? Yeah, it's going to play. And then, you know, it just sort of says it stopped. They were cut in the 1950s. So that says 1950s. So there's always different dates, different times. But they were from the 1500s to the 1900s. It's like, wow, and now they don't quarry there anymore. It's amazing to think that, you know, we just think that they were in rags, horses and carts. They couldn't have been. Anyway, there's a few little headings there which you can go and look it up yourself if you're interested. I just thought it was quite interesting because it's like a whole place, a whole community, a whole thing. It's all gone. It's finished. Finished ages ago. Finished well before our time. And it's in that Victorian bit. Anyway, I wanted to read this bit to you. Let's just stop this. It says, summary in the article. The author draws attention to the little-known slate industry that flourished in the Slate Islands off the east-west coast of Scotland. From small beginnings in the 17th century to the industry reached a peak around 1900 before declining to extinction in the 1960s. Attention is focused on the unusual location of some of the quarries below sea level and of their subsequent vulnerability to natural disasters. And so that's what they're saying happened to Easdale, because obviously the water came in from flooding from a bad storm, which was probably a tsunami or something, because we were having those then. And yeah, you can go and look this up yourself. And that's not the only island it happened to, and these quarries were below sea. Anyway, level or whatever, yeah. Anyway, that's where they all are. Look, there's a little picture of them, and there's Easdale Island. And then I just looked up. So basically, the slates come from Italy nowadays, or Spain nowadays. But the biggest slate quarry, when did that? There's another quarry. See, that one closed in 1969. Dinovic. So that's Wales. And that had been going since the 1780s. Wow, just think about it, guys. It's just, they were a lot more industrial, I think, than we think they were. You just think candles and quills, and it's got to be more than that. And there was a little bit of information. It was more about Wales, and I was looking up Scotland. So, you can read the header bars, the headings there. I just thought it was very interesting. I don't quite understand, because it just seems that maybe the quarries were all filled with water because they were redundant now. People were not having slate. But amazing to think that all this was going on then, hundreds of years ago. Anyway, thanks for watching. What's your thoughts? I was watching ITN, right, about Matt Hancock, and I saw this video.
Labour say he should go.
Well, the Prime Minister must act. He must remove the Health Secretary from his post. You know, that is very, very clear now. We cannot continue with this situation.
And then this person, I said, oh, to my friend Amy and to Gary, I said, I know who this is. But I might have changed my mind now as we play this video. Watch and see who she really is. They are sick. These people are extremely sick people to do this. Extremely sick. And YouTube don't seem to notice it at all. I don't get it. Anyway, there you go. They always have other roles. They're always playing someone else. Always. It's disgusting. And when you're watching this video, you can look at what's happening. I slowed it down to have a look. So here it comes. Thanks for watching. You could have knocked me down with a feather. The other day I just came across this picture of Pippa Middleton and I thought, oh, that looks like Megan. And I started putting pictures over the top. I'm telling you, Kate, Pippa and Megan are the same person. Or they're all sisters. They're all sisters. I will say that Pippa Middleton has exactly the same mole as Megan. I was just like, oh my God. See the mole above her lip? Pippa's got one. It's just makeup and CGI. Oh, and the other thing is, they've all got the same teeth. All of them. They're just versions of each other. I'd never thought that it was Kate Middleton as well. Look at that. I mean, I know they're supposed to be sisters, but come on. They can't both look like Megan. I did the video the other day about the uncanniness that Kate had exactly the same markings on her faces and everything as Meghan. But look at this. It's Pippa Middleton as well. She must be the anchor. She must be Kate Middleton and Meghan. Look at that. I mean, come on. Come on. I don't know what to say. That is just like... And look at... we'll go back to that picture in a sec. I was just picking up a picture here. This one. Just putting that back in. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that picture there. Look, of Pippa kissing. That looks like Kate. And then a picture on the left there in the middle looks like Kate to the one on the right. And then the man in the back of that picture doesn't look right either. But in the middle picture it was. So I'm just doing narration. I can't stop it. But look at that. It's identical. Oh, that's not a real picture. I mean, look at the size of his neck on that picture. Look at that. They are seriously laughing at us. You cannot have them all looking so identical. It's almost like they're sisters or something, but they're all versions of each other, and, you know, they've got to put a different voice in there. But look at their teeth. Go back and have a look at the teeth. If you don't see it, you will see it. If you haven't seen it so far through the picture, look at that. They've got the same teeth. And so is Meghan. I'm just going to be sick now. Ugh. What they do to us. Anyway, thanks for watching.